I like to say teach people how to think, not what to think. What to think is very short term. What to think is very now. How to think is very operational. Their ability to be able to move and pivot and make decisions without guidance. Grew up, born and raised Detroit. I got a chance to actually go to Michigan State. That's where I graduated from. I'm the only child, and I'm extremely competitive. So my ability to continue to stay the course, I learned that at a young age. My parents paid for me to play sports. It was no mid-season, you can quit. It was no, you don't like the team, give up. I got really good grades. I actually got double promoted, so I skipped second grade. I graduated high school at 16. And being able to say I got after it young, right? My mom always says, hey, the reason why you succeed is because you just don't give up. So I kind of relate that back to business, where my journey is the same way, just didn't give up. Marketing major, business college, Eli Bro Business College from Michigan State. And I went in with a general business management thought. And they say, hey, Calvin, the general business management degree isn't gonna be dialed in enough to something specific. You need to choose something. And I chose marketing. And I think that came off of sales, that came off people interaction, that came off of the understanding that every business in the world will always need it to be sold. Every business in the world will always need it to be branded. Every business in the world will always need to be advertised, marketed. So I fell in love with that, and luckily enough, 2 weeks after I graduated, I'm interviewing at a marketing firm. My story's a little different. I tell people all the time that the only way that your family, your parents, your support system kind of doubts your judgment is when you've let them down in the past. I was the kid where if my mom said, take the trash out, it was take it out. If she said, let's make the bed, I made the bed. If my dad said good grades, I'm like, I'm getting good grades. What do I get back in return? And I always came through on that. So to be able to say that I constantly deliver, it was like, it wasn't a question. And I understand the college degree was designed to take 4 years. Some people do it faster. The college degree is designed to take 4 years. Some people do it longer. So I said, hey, well, if I fully commit, the more I work, the more I learn. The more I work, the faster I grow. That's all I told her. And she said, you haven't felt me yet. So I guess it's time for me to be quiet and let you show it off one more time. So it worked out. It worked out. The biggest wake-up call is I thought that being involved with sales was gonna come natural. And then I found out in our industry, it wasn't a sales industry. It was more, hey, you gotta know how to have a good attitude. You gotta know how to think different than the average person. And that was tough for me because I'm used to being good at things. So for me to come in and, like I say all the time, I heard more no's on my first date than I did my entire life. Being an only child, you're like, well, maybe I can't do it. So that was a challenge walking in. My challenge when I got into a leadership position was I wanted it more than other people. I was confused that I wanted more of them than they wanted for themselves. I was confused that I was willing to commit more because I could see, we're gonna call the light at the end of the tunnel, where everybody else was, I don't see what you're seeing. And I'm like, put your glasses on. What do you mean you don't see what I'm seeing? We gotta take it serious, and we actually can make something of this. So those were some challenges that I had. One of the things that I really tell people all the time when they ask me, Calvin, what's the one thing you wish that you were way better at? And the biggest thing I always think about is the ability to hold people accountable. That was a challenge for me starting off, is holding someone accountable, being able to say that, I'm willing to make sure you hit your goals, so I hit my goals by default. Those things were a constant challenge. And over time, through mentorship, through coaching, through learning, through networking, I was able to capitalize on that. That's actually one of my strong suits now. I've owned my own business since 2014, so it's been a decade. We actually just celebrated 10 years. Big, huge barbecue at the office and balloons and celebration. It's been a great journey. I like to say if your goals don't, make you think big, then they're just not good enough. If your why don't make you cry, then it's not big enough. And a lot of times, if you can layer deep into why you're doing something, it's easier to be accountable to it, right? Well, why do you want to run your own business? Well, if I can run my own business, and that means that creates flexibility, that creates a routine that allows me to have a schedule where I can be more accessible to my family. Well, why do you want to be more accessible to your family? Because my mom and dad weren't. They worked their butt off. They put in long hours. When I played sports, they couldn't make it to certain games, or maybe, when I had a certain, event I wanted them to be at, they couldn't be there because of, work. So that's why I want to run my own business. And now that why allows that person to be accountable to it, because they're thinking so deep into the future that When my daughter has a dance recital, I want to be able to show up to her. When my son has a baseball game, I want to be the only dad there at 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon because the other rest of the dads got to work. So these are things that allow someone to be more accountable because they think big on my why. And again, if my why doesn't make me cry, it's just not big enough. Tough times don't last, tough people do. And that's my journey. That's my journey all the way through. We naturally work with individuals that have high confidence. So if they're not doing well, they feel defeated. If they're not doing as good as they want to, they don't feel accomplished. So in return, the instant gratification isn't there. And the best part about being able to be mentored and coached is understanding what delayed gratification is all about. It's the athlete that was really great in college, and then they go on to be a pro, and it just so happens they're on a team where someone plays the same exact position, that's more seasoned, that's more skilled, that's got more experience, and they gotta wait it out. But when their shot comes, it's their time. Man, I got a chance to travel the world. The ability to make decisions when you want to do it because you want to do it and not because of your situation or not because of your bank account, that's priceless. I remember being able to be at the gas station. I'm checking my bank account on my phone to see if I got enough money to pump gas. I remember being, out to eat and I'm up under the table checking my phone, like I guess today's appetizers. And the ability to say that I'm not looking at the menu to decide what I want to eat, the ability to say that you could fill the tank up because it doesn't matter, whether I forget to pull it off or not, the money's available. That's small but so huge in today's world. And then I kind of take it a step further is, there's times where, I wake up and I say, hey, I want to go out the country tomorrow. And I'm flying out the country tomorrow. And the cool part about that is I never dreamed that that's a reality. Like I didn't grow up with, mom and dad have access to all this capital, or mom and dad gave me this great financial literacy course and showed me about how credit works and showed me about how, to stack money in my bank account and how to save. It was totally opposite. So the ability to be able to say I'm doing what I want to do when I want to do it, it's the most fulfilling thing you can ask for. Something else that I get really excited about is I had mentors that have said things like, hey, one day I want to be able to retire my family. One day I want to be able to put my brother and my sister, on payroll. Well, I don't have a brother, I don't have a sister, but mom's on payroll. My dad went through some health concerns. My dad nurses on payroll. And I think about without this business, my dad's probably not still around, because I'm able to fund some of the things that he needs from a medical side. I'm able to fund some of the living care that he needs to keep him, healthy and to keep him moving and keep him pushing. I also love that I got some cool things. I bought some cool stuff. I like nice things. So I just purchased my first home last year, and brand new, built from scratch. I got one of my dream cars, which I always wanted a Range Rover, and I got a Range Rover, and it's not the little one, it's the big one. I love that I get a chance to open up doors for people, and nothing's better than hearing someone say what they want to accomplish and then working with them. And then next thing you know, they're doing cool things for their family, and they're doing cool things for their family tree, and they're changing up the way that they're going to control and live their life. And I think that piece means more than the material stuff. A big thing that I learned in business was you got to learn how to bet on yourself. And it doesn't matter what YouTube video you look at, it doesn't matter what book you read, doesn't matter what movie you watch. If it's entrepreneurship involved or entrepreneurship driven, the one thing that's gonna always be in common is learning how to bet on yourself. The average person doesn't have that. And I love that we can teach that skill set, but I also know that that's a scary skill set, because people think of things like direct sale, that must mean straight commission. We're blessed enough where we're not straight commission. We're blessed enough where, someone gets an opportunity to be paid weekly. But on the other side is the people that do the best, they're good at betting on themselves. So what makes direct sales scary is you got to bet on yourself. You got no one else that you can depend on but you. The good news is we got great cornermen, we got great coaches, we got great leadership, we got great mentors, but we can't want it more than you do. I went to school to be a sports agent when I first got there. And at the time, we didn't have that as a program, so I shifted over into marketing. So I definitely would probably want to be in something in sports. I'm from Detroit, so our teams haven't been winning too much, but now we're back on top. So maybe the sports agency thing may have had a strong push, but I've been running a business for over a decade now, and our last decade in Detroit has been tough. So if if I had to be a sports agent, it was going to be a lot of games that, I was going to have to suffer through. But one thing I do love is that with the clients we've worked with, they gave us tickets to cool games. They gave us a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, the Lions, hopefully one day we go to the Super Bowl, but we didn't go in the last 10 years, right? I got a chance where the clients have sent me to some playoff games, some major league baseball games, some hockey games, and we're sitting in the suite and we're networking. And I'm just thinking like we were going to the teams that were winning. So I really enjoy the sports marketing field because that's probably something I think I would have done. I got a lot of friends that do mortgage banking. So I'm pretty sure they would have probably talked me into that if the sports marketing field didn't work out. Leadership is all about coaching someone to do something without you being there. I like to say teach people how to think, not what to think. What to think is very short term. What to think is very now. How to think is very operational. Their ability to be able to move and pivot and make decisions without guidance. My mom always jokes and says, you buy a lot of nice stuff and you provide different than I've ever seen someone provide. Are you okay? I'm scared you could go broke. And I'm like, Mom, we got a rainy day fund. We got a rainy day fund and it comes with umbrellas. Well, one, financial saving starts early. If you're someone where I give you $100 and you got $1 left, that means if I give you 100,000, you're gonna have 1,000 left. It just is what it is. We gotta watch our spending habits, right? It's good to celebrate the wins. It's good to be able to reward yourself. It's good to be able to say that you feel the fruits of the labor. But on the same hand, savings is a bill. So when I meet someone and I'm coaching them early in their career, and a lot of times I say, hey, I want you to treat your savings bill like it's your cell phone bill. I want you to treat your savings bill like it's your Netflix bill, right? So whether that number is super small or that number is super big, this is my weekly amount that I gotta save every single week. And I owe that bill every single week because that means that we're structured enough that when we make more money, we understand that we still need to save money. So that starts off very young in someone's career. Savings is a bill, all the way up to I want to be able to have major capital so I can explore my dream and accomplish my goals like no tomorrow. A really important piece of advice for someone when they're starting off early in their entrepreneurship journey or early in their success journey is getting a chance to read books, getting a chance to listen to audio clips, getting a chance to look at YouTube clips. Find you a motivational speaker. Find you someone that helps you think different than the average person that you hang around. I know my first time reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it gave me a different viewpoint of the value of the dollar. I know someone told me, hey, you need to read this book called Above the Line. And it's by Urban Meyer. And Urban Meyer, at the time, he was the head coach for Ohio State, and I graduated from Michigan State. So I was like, the book looks good, but I don't know how good the book really is. But on the same hand, what I love most about it is being able to see how you can separate yourself from the average. There's a book called The Magic of Thinking Big, and the ability to think outside the box, the ability to think different than other people. My favorite motivational speaker is Eric Thomas. Eric Thomas actually was my advisor at Michigan State. Me and Eric have, I actually call him E.T., but me and E.T. have, built a really good relationship. I've seen him in person at his conferences. I remember when I was in sophomore year of college and hearing Eric talk about when you want to succeed as much as you want to breathe is when you'll be successful. And then years later, he's doing the halftime speech for LeBron James and Ray Allen and Dwayne Wade when they're trying to win this championship, and they flew Eric Thomas in and paid him $20,000 to get the team riled up to come back from a 3-2 deficit to win the championship. And I'm like, wow. It's so cool to be able to see that journey become more than what it is. So find you someone that motivates you outside of the normal mentorship that you get every day. And then lastly, I like to embrace this statement, just tough times don't last, tough people do. And the only way you ever can pick that up is if you understand the entrepreneurial journey of risk versus reward. A big thing that I wanted to accomplish one day was to become a six-figure earner. And it was one thing to say that you could make six figures in a year. It was another thing to say that you could walk to the bank and put your card in and it says you have 6 figures in your bank account. And I'll never forget my first time saving $100 grand And the reason why you hear me say my first time, because what goes up must come down. So I got a chance to say, hey, I just accomplished a major goal. And then once I accomplished that major goal, well, what do? Well, if you never had 100 grand, you don't know how to keep 100 grand. So I looked up months later, years later, the number wasn't the same. And I love the fact that I said, if I did it once, I can do it again. And then my next milestone was to get my first 250 grand saved. And then my next milestone was to get my first 500 grand saved. The positive there is that I'm after something even bigger than that now. And I want to get my first million saved. I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely on track. I'm definitely on my way. But when I remove the dollar signs from it, I'm really after seeing if I could teach someone else how to do that too. And I love that so much, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to how we've been taught our entire life, at least where my upbringing is, at least where I come from, it was, hey, if you got enough money to pay your rent, then that's cool. If you got enough money to just cover your bills, then that's cool. And I had one of my mentors tell me, Calvin, when you know that you're doing good is when you can look at your cost of living, and then you can tell yourself, what if I don't work the next 3 years? Can I still afford to live? And I'm excited that it's more than 3 years.